straight away. Jack Harrison here. Jack Harrison bringing the ball forward. He's played it into Pablo Hernandez, edge of the area. Hernandez goes for goal! What a start to the game! 17 seconds on the clock. It's going to be one of the quickest goals of the Sky Bet Championship season. Here's Cook. Cook goes for goal! And finds the back of the net in sensational fashion.
Jones now for Leeds. And McNabb only half stopping him. Jones getting it across. And Clark going in! And Alan Clark has put Leeds ahead! Down under. Mark Viduka is a sporting god in Australia, and now in West Yorkshire. Here he is again. It's Viduka. It's scored. It's all his own work.
Well, everybody, welcome back. My name is Conor McGilligan. What is going on in your world? And that was truly fantastic from, listen, all of it. We've got a lot to get into. Make sure you're in here slapping the likes. I think we had 2.5k on the watch along. So shout out to all of you who came along and endured the stress, but endured the relief of Leeds United picking up a much needed win against the Chelsea side who, battered Barcelona, had the ball in the back of the net 6 times against Barcelona. And if they'd have had 11 men on the pitch, would have beaten Arsenal at the weekend. A fantastic result for Leeds United. 3-5-2, the job saver. That's all I'll say, people. There's rumours, there's reports, it was everywhere in terms of confirmation, really, that Daniel FARKE could be at jeopardy tonight. The camera was panning round to Parag Marat at points. He still didn't look that happy. I don't really know why. But still, you were looking at a point at which there was a lot of pressure on Daniel FARKE tonight. For 4 months, for 3 or 4 months, we have asked on this channel, me personally, we've done breakdowns, we've done analysis, we've spoken about managers who prioritise 3-5-2s, we've spoken about managers who prioritise certain styles. That was excellent tonight. Absolutely excellent. From back to front. He changed, he adapted, and what was the mantra at the start of the season? If he changes and he adapts, there's no grey area. No grey area. FARKE in or FARKE out. I was always sort of in the grey. I gave him that leash. I mentioned this all the time. If he's able to adapt, I'm FARKE in. That was excellent tonight. Absolutely excellent. The substitutions I thought were right to a certain extent. I thought at the point maybe Tanaka coming off lost an element of control in that midfield, but then I just had a little bit of a sit here and think, well, with Cole Palmer coming on and advancing in that attacking midfield position, we're seeing a lot of transitional moments from Tanaka where he was going beyond the midfield. Same with Stack, especially when it came to the ball carrying. At a certain stage, maybe you needed another 6 in next to Ethan Ampadu, really. He brought the 6 on. I thought he got it right. The timing of the subs, I thought he got right this time as well. This is literally what we've wanted. It's what we've wanted. We've been screaming from the rooftops for this formation. We've been screaming from the rooftops for this style of play. He got it absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. We've got to talk about the players as well. I thought Secondson on Anton Stack in that midfield with maybe a little bit more cover. And obviously in that 3-5-2, a lot of the time, Stack will just look over his right shoulder and literally see Bogle there. I thought his covering when it came to the 1v1 situations, he grew into the game with Anton Stack. And from a defensive perspective, you've got the pockets covered when it comes to that covering, whether or not it's that, if Jayden Bogle goes high, it's you might get Rodon tucking in, or you might get that central midfielder closer to that right back, and indeed closer to the centre back as well when you get in 1v1 situations. And I thought they really struggled. I thought João Pedro was out the game. Liam Delat was relatively out the game, and you looked at that at the setup right at the very beginning. And I think Enzo Maresca, he said in his press conference that Daniel FARKE effectively doesn't play a back three. He's played it 16 times in 200 matches. That's another bit of context as well for Norwich and for Leeds. He's never started out in the competition of the Championship and the Premier League with an out-and-out back three. He hasn't done it. So, yeah, and I think he set up his team. It looked like it anyway when you looked at the profiles on the pitch to go up against a back four, which was interesting. In his press conference as well, he said they had an organisation for a 3-5-2, but it didn't look like it. But the focus doesn't need to be on Chelsea, but the focus does need to be on a Chelsea for a certain extent, because the quality of the players, that is one of the best benches I've ever seen. James, Neto, Garnacho, Cole Palmer, amongst many others on there, just talent everywhere, ridiculous talent. And that's not even what they've got on the pitch. So Leeds were just in the faces, they were intense. But the question was, could we maintain it? Because we've done this before. We've seen this before. We've read this. We've gone through these chapters, and you get to that back end and Leeds aren't able to manage games. Well, we scored an offside. I think it was an offside goal, wasn't it? I've seen it back. And what a wonderful finish by Lucas Mecha that was, by the way. So underrated. But throughout the game, I'm on cloud nine. I'm on cloud nine. I'm on absolute cloud nine. I said tonight it'd be 2-2, and I thought that was positive. But I thought the emergence of Jacobiol in the back three. Guys, we've not lost the game in this back three yet. Man City, we beat Man City. And it's just marginal things you cling on to. We've beaten Man City in a back three, 2-1. We're beating Chelsea 3-1 in a back three. It just, Yaka coming in, I thought in the second half against City, he looked excellent. And when he's got players covering, I think the distribution out from the back's really good. I think his strength, his reading of the game, just the amount of blocks and interceptions Leeds got in that first half as well, which doesn't, I'm not saying that Leeds were under a lot of pressure, but I think the whole game really reminded me of Sunderland away at Chelsea, where Chelsea had 80% of the ball and Sunderland sat back, but Sunderland created more chances. Leeds towards the end of the game, you're looking at the possession stats, they've got about 70% of it. You do not need the ball to create chances all the time. You really don't. Creating chances comes from a style of play. If you are to go route one, but you don't, I think people think that a lot of the time going route one's just going from the keeper to the centre forward. It's not about that. It's playing into the little pockets from the midfield into the channel. It's maybe playing a transitional ball from Al Tanaka out wide to Anton Stack or Jayden Bogle. It's not all, when we talk route one, when we talk about direct, it's encouraging those mid to long range passes, of which Leeds United can stretch teams. And even in the Championship, I thought we could have done that with the likes of Ramazani, Solomon, Nonto, etc. But the 3-5-2 enables you to do that because you're able to have those sort of trio overloads that we had for Marcelo Bielsa, with maybe the centre forward, the right winger, and the central midfielder as well in pockets. I thought it was just so. I enjoyed watching Leeds. I enjoyed it, every part of me. That's my favourite game tonight. My favourite game. You're so lucky if you were down at Ellen Road tonight. The atmosphere sounded great. A little bit nervy at points, of course, but I just thought, overall, Leeds we looked strong at the back. We looked like we had control, composure. There was no head loss. I said the most important moment for Leeds United was at the beginning of that second half, when we actually came out, and a couple of people in the chat were saying, Connor, we're going to bottle it. They've scored. And which is probably quite unlike me. I turned around and said, well, I actually think we've come out in the second half, and it's not a Villa situation where Matty Cash has got down 3 times in the first 2 minutes, and we're being exposed down that side because of their changes to a 4-2-4. We actually elicited quite a bit in that first sort of 2 minutes. We got forward a little bit. I thought we had a few moments as well. They go to the other end, and it's another cutback goal, annoyingly, but Leeds intensity, the ball in for the first goal as well. I think the midfield balance, I'm going all over the place here, but Jacobiol's introduction was brilliant. As I said, the covering aspects of that back three has just worked to perfection. That's exactly what I thought it would do. You've seen him do it for Slovenia, Udinese. I knew that would work. and the covering ability of our centre-backs, how they complement Yacobiol as well is really important as well, because you've got an exceptional passer, and then you've got someone whose recovery speed on the other side is very, very important as well in Joe Rodon, who I think is probably one of the quickest centre-backs in the Premier League. Really important attributes to have in and around Yacobiol, who's the central part of that, centre-back three. The midfield just looked brilliant. I thought it looked brilliant. That is our midfield in a three. It has to be. Sorry, Sean Longstaff. You just don't have the technical tendencies, I think, to push yourself into that midfield. I've given Ampadu a little bit of stick. I have, because I think his performances have been a little bit downtrodden at points. However, what I will say about Ethan Ampadu is his technical level, and you can see when he's carrying the ball in that second half into that midfield and almost going into a number 8 role at points, his ability to pick a pass under pressure and his ability to be able to win a foul as well, which I thought he was doing in that game a little bit as well, is just so important. I think Sean Longstaff, with the energy, the endeavour, the blood, guts and thunder, that's amazing. But I do think in terms of that technical aspect, which we're going to have to rely on in a 3 in the midfield, you've got the perfect blend. I thought stacking that 3 looked amazing as well. And it's all because you've got numbers in and around you. You've got options everywhere. If you want to go to the man next to you, you can. If you want to get the ball out on your back foot and switch it to the left-hand side, you've got a lot of options on that left-hand side now as well. So especially if you're splitting the front two, which I think Leeds were doing really well. But there was points in the game of which we looked a little bit stretched, and I felt Leeds were maybe a little bit sloppy in possession, just giving the ball away centrally. But you could see, and there's not really a methodology here. There's not really principles instilled. There's not really all of these things which are embedded in this Leeds United side when it comes to a 3-5-2. There's not at this moment in time. We've worked on it, 45 against City, and we will have worked on it before because we did have it in pre-season. But in terms of like a fully fledged formation, which is away from a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3, Leeds haven't really, no matter what FARKE says, really, haven't really shaped into a 3 in a football match, in my opinion. I think Ampadu's gone back against Spurs into a 3, but actually a set out back 3. Leeds haven't done it yet. So it just was really good to see. It was a lovely football match to watch as well. It was arduous. It was painful at points because you're willing your team to win the game, of course. And this was such a massive game. It felt for FARKE and for Leeds in general. You lose this game and then West Ham win tomorrow or whatever, and you're sinking, and then you've got Liverpool on the horizon. So I just thought across the board it was excellent. I thought the changes that he made worked. I thought Okafor came on and made a really big difference in terms of just those channel runs, of which you might not get from Mecha and DCL because they are primarily 9s. But Okafor give you a little bit of width as well, and that's what I'm talking about with the front 2. We have options now. We've not really seen Peru in a 2, have we? We've not seen Peru in a 2 with Mecha, or Peru with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, or even last season we didn't really see him in a 2. For Swansea, for example, when we bought him, he was much closer to being in a 2 because Patterson and Obafemi were up there with him. But for Leeds, he's been an isolated striker, a CF by himself. So now you've got him in a front 2. Who knows? There could be complementary parts for Joel Peru with this system as well. Okafor can still veer in his same role, but he can move centrally, which is what he likes to do anyway, because he's big on inverting. And it gives the likes of James Justin, it gives the likes of maybe substitutes who come on a little bit of cover as well. Probably some criticism I'd put in there was maybe to Lucas Perry's kick in. That was probably the bit that wound me up most in the game. The man has just got to work on these kicks. It's a little bit slicey. But overall, I've run out of superlatives, really. I thought Stack was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And as I've said, it's got to be that midfield. But I think FARKE nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And look, where were we at before the game? If he wins this game, the Niners kick the can down the road. And do we ever sack him? This is literally the conversation before the game and throughout the weeks. Because I thought not the weeks, but the last maybe 1 of 7 to 8 days. Are the 49ers going to kick the can down the road? And is this just going to be a case of what Daniel FARKE has already done this season, where he started off the season in a little bit of more of a direct, less possession-y way, which is backed up by the statistics, led by the Athletic last week? Leeds have now got more possession and are going direct a lot less. Is it going to turn into that? where we started the season like that and then went to very, very heavy possession football and slower build-up, which we've seen very recently against Villa, against Nottingham Forest and Brighton. Is he going to do that where he moves away and goes back to his principles? Or is he going to win a game like this, have the performance against Man City and stick? If he can manage football games like that with the correct substitutions, and it's not always going to be high-flying like that, but did we ever look like we were getting properly pulled out of our structure like we have done? You know, we're managing games and you can see gaps, pockets. I mean, the cutback in the second half, the one that came off was Cole Palmer, and I thought he'd knocked it in for 2-2, but that was the only one really throughout the game. Normally with Leeds United, I think there's probably 4 or 5 cutbacks per game. I think the 3-5-2 really, really amplifies that structure and how compact you are, you know? And you got to think as well, they're not going to commit another man forward because you got 2 men up all the time. So the conversation is, will FARKE stick to this? If he sticks to this, and if he's able to control games like that, and I have to be honest, keep Aronson and probably Longstaff out the starting 11, I'll be honest. If he can do that, you can't really, I mean, you can't move away from him. You can't, because this is all we were asking for. And if he's able to manage a football game like that, and the only time we've seen 3-5-2, Leeds haven't lost the game. As I say, you know, City and this, that, and the other. But if he keeps it like that, brilliant. And this is where we're all sort of getting grabbed back in, aren't we? Because it's not flipping and being fickle with your opinion. This is what we've spoken about on the channel now for so long in terms of me switching to this formation. We even spoke about in the Championship how it would benefit our players, even going with a back three with Ampadu back there. But we didn't really need it then, did we? But it was the spell of which Leeds were conceding a few games in that 6-game spell. But if he's able to stick with this, and he's able to manage a game like that, and he's able to get that intensity from the players most weeks, which we're going to need to stay up, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But it's that if. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, we're going to start like that against Liverpool, but not just Liverpool. I want us to be starting against Palace, Brentford, Sunderland, Newcastle, Man United, Liverpool again. We've got to be starting with this formation. We have to be. So if he does that, if he drops the principles, forget after the previous game against Manchester City, he said we can't do this in every game, but he's got to do it in every game. And if he does that, it's going to be difficult for you to really even... FARKE has to prove us wrong. Because I think there might be a shape shift back to it, but if there's not, amazing. We want continuity. We want you to adapt. We've said it from day dot, but I just haven't believed you will adapt. Haven't believed it. So if you stick with this, stick with how we played, stick with similar personnel, hunky-dory. Hunky-dory. Right, let's have a little look at what you guys are saying in the chat, shall we? FARKE 3, Maresca 0. Has anybody seen Jason Cundy? Great reference. Great reference. Josh Wright says, can we get a special mention to... Yes, we can, Josh. We can. Special mention to our captain. Real Leeds performers from him. All the lads. Massive performers from their managers. Job that. Yeah, 100%. Look, Ampadu. That's back to Ethan. Properly back to Ethan. Where was Enzo Maresca? Enzo Maresca was on the bench. Where was Enzo Fernandez? Couple of tackles, that last tackle as well, brilliant. Loved how committed the lads were, the intensity. Strout was really good as well. Strout won't get a mention. Strout was excellent. It's a bit of a new role for Pascal, that, because you're effectively telling him to be a left back at points as well, when Gabby Goodmanson's effectively acting as a left winger. So you've got to look at the covering roles that are now Joe Rodon and Pascal Strout, because they're effectively being utilised as right backs and left backs at points, especially at stages when Leeds are going to build out from the back, because they can't go route one all the time, but they're going to split the centre-backs, and those two are going to be effectively in possession like left-backs and right-backs. But that now, because we've changed it throughout the season, where FARKE has gone from this to this, when we've been strong at this, he's then moved away to his old principle. He has to stick with this. Has to. But this is what the 49ers' tricky problem is now, because they're going to have to take that risk, aren't they? They're going to have to take that risk. Because you kick that can down the road, they're kicking the can down the road with the thought process that Daniel FARKE is going to stick with the back three. If he then goes to Liverpool and switches to a 4, or, you know, like I've said, we play Palace or Brentford or something, he goes to a 4, then the 49ers are just going to be like, and you know, then we're kind of getting into the midst of January talk. It's got to be this now. It's got to be. Love it. 352. Love UConn. Overstimulated. He had to be there. Thank F for that, lads. All Leeds, aren't we? Be all at class today. Can't help but feel like a nasty atmosphere played a big part. Indeed, mate. Indeed. Beal was class. 100%. Miller says the two up top looks loads better. Solid at the back and great in midfield. A bit of ball watching for their goal and keeping need to do better, but great performance all in all. Leeds Tribe says, what a win. Shows what can happen when you play a shape and formation that suits the players at your disposal. Claire says as well, we need to play like this every game. We have the potential with the right management and quality of players to stay up. Here's a stat for you. Maresca has played Leeds 3 times, managing a team violating FFP every time and has picked up no points. This is loss number 30 for Chelsea. I love it how everyone's just going at Chelsea. That's brilliant. But I think someone's just said it there, just below there. But he has to adapt. Of course he does. Of course he does. And let's hope he does. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt tonight because I've been very, very critical of Daniel FARKE. Have been very critical, and I'll admit that. And I've been one who's been saying I would like him to be relieved of his duties. But on the basis of tonight, if he's able to do that consistently through the Premier League season, and someone's just put teams will learn. They will learn. And Leeds are going to lose a lot more games, guys. We're not going to win every game. We're not going to draw every game. Leeds are going to lose football matches, even in a 3-5-2 system. So we've got to buckle in for that and be reasonable with that. But if he's playing in that structure and with how good the teams look, not just over the sample size of 90 minutes against Chelsea, but in an away match against Manchester City where we completely flip the game on its head with our style of play. That is how we've recruited. That is why consistently we've maintained the thought process on here that you can't just bash the recruitment all the time because, yeah, it wasn't great, wasn't ideal when you're after Buenanotte, Rodrigo Muniz, and then you're after the other one, Igor Paixão, and you miss out. But it wasn't a horrific window, and this team's good enough to stay up. And I've been saying that throughout the entire season. They are good enough to stay up, 100%. But they've got to be put in a framework. They have to be put in a system that's going to aid it. You can't be telling Dominic Calvert-Lewin to flourish, but building out from the back against Arsenal. You can't be telling Elia Gruev to be building out from the back against Man United and flourish in that role. There can't be protection. There can't not be protection in and around Altanaka. We can't be vulnerable consistently on either side to cutbacks. They've got to be ironed out, and you've got to play to at least your strengths. Steve says we're still going down. Cheers, Steve. I sort of disagree on sticking with the formation. Yes, for majority of matches and every away match, but there's home games we'll need to go 4-3-3. Potentially, but I don't know what we lose. I don't know what we lose from going to a 3-5-2 to a 4-3-3. I don't know what we lose. Effectively, when you look at the personnel, that would probably mean, especially with the injuries right now, when it comes to Dan James, you might have to put like Aronson, let's say wide right, and then you might have to, obviously you're going to fluctuate between, you're going to go between Okafor and Nonto on that left-hand side potentially, but I think there's cover everywhere. I think even when we're playing poorer teams, I still think the cover's really important, but I think as well, you saw tonight that the midfield can act as extra attackers because they've got 2 protectors behind. I don't think we lost any attacking presence tonight whatsoever. We curated tonight against Chelsea above a 3xG. I can't remember doing that for the most part this season. The mindset with a 3-5-2 always is you're too defensive, but we haven't been against Man City and we haven't been against Chelsea. It's all about those second balls as well and committing maybe another body in the midfield forward. And I think we've got with Bogle and Goodmanson 2 players who we've all said before can be a right winger and one can be a left winger. They can run that line and have really solid centre backs in behind them. You can in effect commit more men forward with a 3-5-2. I think there's a thought process all the time that is too defensive, but it's not, I don't think anyway. We got so many more crosses into the box with DCL. 3-5-2 is playing to Leeds' strengths. Harry says, I wonder, Connor, if we were to bolster with much stronger wingers in Jan, would you be okay switching back? Steve says, okay, we're going to win the league. I think this is the beauty of, not the beauty, it's horrible. But like losing Dan James, I wonder tonight if he'd have maybe gone to a 4-3-3 if James had been fit, because James doesn't fit in this formation. The only reason I put Nonto in this formation is because centrally I think he can work. I've mentioned this before on the channel. I think he can work in the 10, and maybe off someone like DCL in certain games, he can work as almost just like a little bit of a 10, just in behind, similar to that of Peru. but you still call it like a front two. Okafor can work in that role as well. But the likes of Brendan Aronson and the likes of Dan James are going to struggle in this formation. They're going to struggle in this formation because I wouldn't ever really call Brendan Aronson an out-and-out central midfielder. And I think this system maybe relies a little bit more on 3-6s or an 8 and 2-6s, and it's a little bit more structured in the midfield, I think, anyway. Whereas, you know, because obviously you're covering for those wing backs, really, who are going to be flying forward. But I think Brendan likes a little bit more freedom, and I think Brendan is probably better out wide than what he is in the 10. And we're not going to be playing with width in a 3-5-2 unless it's the wing backs. So that's the important thing to look at here. You sacrifice the wingers, but I think we've got more than enough with Bogle and Goodmanson to give us that width, and the strikers up top as well to split their positions and aid us out wide as well. We closed them down well tonight. Pressing higher up the pitch was a joy to watch. I agree, mate. It was. Why the obsession with James? He isn't good enough for the Prem. Yeah, and then that's another thing as well, guys. Like I guess with DJ, there's not always been that. There's not been that proof at Premier League level yet consistently, and he's not been fit since, what do you say, February, March? I don't think fully fit. So if he's out for another 3 or 4 months, the issue with DJ is he's a pace merchant. I think he's a reasonably good technical player as well. But when you get to sort of beyond 25 and your hamstring starts pinging off like that, that's a problem when you rely on speed. It's a big problem when you rely on speed. So, yeah, you got to play to your strengths, I think. Josh does definitely need another striker then. Do we? I mean, if that goal had accounted with Metcha, would that have been number 5 for him this season? That'd have been number 5 for him this season. I think DCL's now on 3. Honestly, have a look at some of the other squads and the spread of goals with the number 9s. Not that many. Not that many. Would you maybe consider DJ at right wing back if we're chasing a game? I think that's probably his likely position, mate. I think that's probably the likely position. Kieran says, Connor, you're a clean-cut legend. Have a great Christmas and come on, Leeds. It's brilliant what it does, everyone, in it. We're all happy. We're all elated. And it's just brilliant. It's great to see us play that style of football. I think it's just really impressive. The intensity was there. It was direct. It was blood and thunder. And it just gave, I thought, we could have had more. We could have had more in that game. And it's just great to see, to be honest. It's great to see. And it's nice to see, like, and touch wood here, but Metcha staying relatively injury-free, apart from some of the niggles. Exactly the same with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. FARKE was saying he was involved in most training sessions. And then you look at Okafor as well, who's stayed relatively clean bill when it comes to his health. So I think, to be honest with you, the medical team aren't doing a bad job, really, when it comes to these personnel. Scoopman says, how to fall asleep now. Is anybody else like this as well? Is anybody else like, is it just me? Like, I will now be listening. I'll probably re-listen to this about 5 times. Not because I want to listen to myself, but I want to hear what you guys are saying as well. Like, this is the problem. I'm knackered today, but when Leeds have won, I can't come down. I'll be watching highlights until ungodly hours. I've been messaging Brownie and Gabe and some of my other favorite content creators who I speak to a lot about this. I'm just going to be tweaking all night. Tanaka outstanding, yeah. And if you were at the in the watch along as well, you'll have seen, and this was very funny in the watch along. Do you remember his first couple of shots? So talking about tweaking, I didn't actually know what he was doing. He had 2 or 3 efforts on goal, and each and every one of them was a really poor effort. On a couple of occasions, there was Bogle on the overlap, and then there was Metcha wide right, and he decided on both occasions to not do it out Tanaka. And normally, he's such a lovely, elegant, high IQ player. He would look that way and then maybe play the pass. And Tanaka just kept scuffing these shots. And I was saying on the watch along, I just said, is he overstimulated? And this is why people keep putting the word overstimulated in there. Yeah, and then out of nowhere, I was saying he's too overstimulated. Why does he keep shooting? And then it's just classic Connor. Then just gets the ball out of his feet and slams one into the bottom corner. The goal of the night. So yeah. Oh, dearie me. Deary me. Anthony says your belief in the 3-5-2 was totally vindicated. I know, mate. And it's nice for stuff like this to happen. I'd have been absolutely battered from pillar to post if they'd have played 3-5-2 in these two games and they'll have just got mullered. Imagine. I thank God I got that right. They went to a 3 at the back against City and we conceded 6. And then in this game, they've gone to 3 at the back again. I don't know what my defence would have been. I'd have come on. Look, guys, they've not had time to work in the system. I'd have had to go down another tactical preview. This is how it can work. This is what we're doing wrong. Oh, thank God. Thank God we've not done that. Gunnar Sparky says, love your celebration with Leeds, Scott. Cheers, mate. It's you don't think about it really. Connor's reverse psychology worked on tonight, indeed. I'm 6 a.m. here. I have no chance falling asleep, indeed. Carting Bro says, it was great to see after the Chelsea goal, the team went back to a settled system and played the response. Great response to concede the goal. It was that 10 minutes after conceding the goal was really important for Leeds because we've seen before Leeds get really sort of exposed, I feel, in those minutes after maybe we've conceded a goal. And we've given up 8 points from leading positions this season, which isn't good enough. It's not good enough that if you want to stay in the division. So really important for Leeds, that really important to manage the game. And that period, that 10-minute period was vital for the Whites. And if we hadn't have done that, you're kind of looking down the barrel of a gun there, because you're thinking, if we just keep getting in the lead, let's say if we start games intensely and we keep going in the lead and then giving up goals every single time. I know we did today, but it kind of peters itself. It kind of works its way out when we've scored 3. But if you keep not being able to manage leads, you're going down. You're literally going down in the Premier League. You've got to be able to manage football games. And I think a lot of the time this season, I'll be honest with you guys, I think a lot of it has been at Daniel FARKE. I think some of his changes, second halves, the amplification of it was against Villa when Emery changed and he didn't know how to react. But he did really well tonight. Really, really well tonight. Really well. So well done, Daniel FARKE. Well done indeed. Mr. P says, a Wednesday after a Leeds win is a bloody wonderful thing. What do we fans know? 3-5 bloody 2, eh? We should all get the jobs, shouldn't we? Should we just all go in and be like, maybe not recruitment, but we'll be tacticos. How about that? Loft says, who's bothered about Liverpool join? Get Leeds on Sky U. You know what, bees. Scum will lose 100%. This is kind of what I'm thinking. You can see the league table, can't you, guys? You can see the league table, and we are now 3 points above West Ham, because I know you've all looked at the table. For once, we need those scummers to do us a favour. And I've already been messaged by my best mate, who's a Man United fan. He's already messaged me saying, "Don't be relying on us, mate." I was like, "Oh God!" The one time when you need them to win, we're going to actually all be thinking tomorrow night, "Come on, you scum, just do us a favour, do us a favour." Leeds 1-2 says, "Sack FARKE now on a high." I think the interesting thing with Leeds 1-2 there is, because we'd all said before this that we've kind of got to take sentiment and the euphoria away from it if we win the game. Because we've all said you kick that can down the road a little bit more and you could find yourself in more bother later on if FARKE does change back to his regular system and his regular style. That's where some people are still going to be a bit jittery, because as I've said to you guys before, there was a style which he started the season with and then he flipped back to his old style. So that's what everybody's going to be a little bit more nervous with, and we 100% know that. But I guess tonight, when you're looking at it, you're thinking, absolutely solid. We love that. Absolutely love that. So just, I guess, we don't enjoy those moments in football enough, do we? So I'm absolutely buzzing with it, guys. Absolutely buzzing. Have to be honest. That thumbnail, apologies for that thumbnail. It was scheduled by my editor. I am going to blame it on you, Liam. But yeah, it will be updated. Don't worry. Was trying to get the mod's attention. Then a minute later, you're running up and down the room. Yeah. I don't know why I always run to the back. I always just run to the back. Yeah, my missus isn't well at the minute either, so she ain't going to be appreciating that. I think she's up at 6 as well. So it's going to be another night of Connor watching Leeds up until 4 a.m. and her getting up being just noisy at 6. So I'll probably just come back on stream. Come on, you whites, indeed. LC Connell, thank you so much for your donation, mate. All Leeds, aren't we? Thank you, Mr. Connor, for keeping us American fans informed. Beers on me if you're ever around the nation's capital, marching on together. Annapolis, MD. Thank you so much, LC. We've had a lot of people who've come in and donation wise in the past 2 streams who I've never seen before. We had a resident from Chicago early on in the watch. I've never seen him before. And he said he's watched the stuff for years. And that's the beauty of this community. You know, sometimes you get taken away with some of the brilliant commenters. By the way, I know all of your names. I know all of your faces. Every time you comment, I'm like, oh, it's so-and-so and so-and-so. It's a proper community over here. But you forget about the people. You know, we'll have 10, 12, 13,000 people who watch an average video. I might get 102 comments on that video. You forget the rest are just in the background and they don't. And sometimes you get a little bit taken away from that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that, buddy. Connor had it right, except for Nonto start, indeed. Michael says, actually looking forward to playing Liverpool now. We've found something that works and they look all over the place. They do. I'll also have a quick look and see if FARKE has said anything. I did say that FARKE's done well done to Daniel FARKE for tonight, so I'll probably be getting dogs abuse on there now. But yeah. It's great seeing all the Leeds fans celebrating it. And it was they did something tonight for Howard, didn't they? Howard Wilkinson. I couldn't quite see it because of the stream that I was on. We've got it. Can we all have a little bit of a communal look at Strauch as well? If you watch that game back tonight, I think he was absolutely unbelievable, Pascal Strauch. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. Superb. Guys, you absolute legends. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Now you're all going to be watching this again and again and again. Leeds have won. We've changed system. It's all hunky-dory. Thank the frigging Lord. And let's hope those scummers beat West Ham tomorrow. And then, I don't know, maybe we could do a Sunderland and go and nick something. Maybe. Lazy Shack, I think is a good way of summarising it, mate, as well. FARKE deserved the flack and he deserved the praise. Simples. That's the life of football, mate. James as well says, Connor, you've only been critical of FARKE when it comes to system and changes, which is fair. He's got it right last 2 games. 100%, mate. All brilliant tonight. All absolutely brilliant. Right, let us know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. I'll be back probably tomorrow, won't I? Be back tomorrow. We'll be talking about this for the next couple of days, and it's great to see Leeds United on winning terms again. That's where we like to be. Brilliant. Leeds 3.